This is a relay project.
Real Talk starts right now. Here's Ryan Jesperson.
Day 2 of the Alberta teachers strike. If you're like me, you hope that it's day 2 of 2, right? You hope that the teachers are accepting the province's invitation, or that the province is willing in good faith to circle back with the teachers and get a deal done so 51,000 of them can get back into their classrooms and potentially your kids can get back in the classrooms too. A huge amount of interest in our recent episode. That was our Monday episode, the 6th of October, with Alberta Teachers Association President Jason Schilling. And we've received a ton of feedback there, not just from comments on the YouTube episode, not just from comments on our posts on it on Instagram and TikTok and X, a ton of interest there, but also emails to the show to talk@ryanjesperson.com. We're going to give you the floor, Real Talkers. We're hearing from teachers and parents, and in some cases, high school students from across the province that are taking this personally. Jason Schilling, the president of the ATA, told us that on the 6th of October, said this is personal for Alberta's teachers, and there has been a development since we last spoke with you in our most recent episode. At that point, the teachers were officially on strike. We received notice from several of you, including a principal in Edmonton who wrote in an email to the show. We're going to get to hers in just a moment, letting us know that educational workers, not just teachers, but support workers as well, that are not impacted by this strike, that are not striking per se, are now locked out. And it appears to be getting nastier. To let you know, we do have Alberta's Education Minister, Dimitrios Nikolaitis, joining us on the next episode of Real Talk. That'll be the 8th of October. We're already receiving a number of questions for the minister. You can submit those to us ahead of time to talk@ryanjesperson.com, and we encourage you to join us live for that conversation at 8:30 Mountain, 10:30 Eastern on Wednesday, the 8th of October. It was a principal in Edmonton that wrote into the show, talk@ryanjesperson.com. By the way, Calgary Mayoral candidate, she's the incumbent, Dr. Jyoti Gondek, joining us in just a couple of minutes. Former Edmonton Mayor Stephen Mandel joining us on the back nine of this episode to give us his assessment of the state of politics in the province, and in particular in the capital city, from top to tail, as they say in our business. An episode today that you're not going to want to miss, and we're grateful you're here for it. This principal in Edmonton wrote in, said, Jespo, I've been at home today, of course, as are all of my 51,000 colleagues in the province. It's been arguably the worst and most difficult day of my 23-year career. She says, I feel stuck on the couch, overwhelmed with sadness. I've been emailing our government, checking in steadily on my teachers throughout the day. And then I saw your post, the episode of Real Talk, and it reduced me to absolute rubble. She says, I'm typing you through tears. I just want to say thank you so much for advocating for us. Nobody wanted to do this, but we have to, because our kids, mine and yours and the hundreds of thousands of others in this province, deserve better, and so do we. She says, the sadness is overwhelming. I'm at a new school where food and financial insecurity is not at the top of the list, but the school I came from, it definitely was. And all I can think about today is who's feeding the kids at the inner city schools, who gave them a hug and said, I love you this morning, who was their safe place today. She says that's the reality of schools across this province. We also got an email from Brittany writing in from Red Deer. She says, Ryan, my teacher, a student teacher right now, rather my sister is a student teacher right now. She went back as a mature student after her kids grew up, and she'll be graduating in January. The kiddos in the classroom that she's student teaching in experience varying degrees of food insecurity. She and the teacher that she's working with used their own money and made soup and bread with their students at school on Friday so that they would know that they all got one last filling and nourishing meal before school started back up again. Brittany says some of the kids had 4, even 5 bowls of soup. They all wanted more bread because who doesn't love fresh bread? Brittany says the leftovers were sent home with the kids who needed it the most. This is an elementary school we're talking about. These are the people that the government is refusing to bargain with. She says, well, they were willing to bargain with them, just not on any of the pressing needs. Brittany says, these are the kids the government is refusing to support. We love our teachers. Every child deserves a well-funded and supported education, even the little ones who eat the majority of their food at school, especially those little ones. That from Brittany from Red Deer. Now, when Jason Schilling talked to us, he did lay out the top priorities for the teachers. Sure, he talked about the salary increase that they're looking for, and it's a significant one. 30% is the number that they have circled. The government says that they're capped right around 17. We'll have more from the minister. But of course, Schilling tells us that it's about much more than that. Class sizes, the culture, the state of the relationship between the province and its teachers. We'll look forward to hearing from the minister tomorrow and more of your comments. We'll be reading more of your emails throughout this episode today. But joining us in our feature interview today, presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West, we have been speaking with each of the major candidates seeking the mayor's office in both Calgary and Edmonton. And our fifth of five in my hometown of Calgary is the incumbent, Jyoti Gondek, ahead of our Real Talk Calgary Mayoral debate coming up on Friday, October 10th. It's nice to see your face again, and thanks for making time for us today.
It's good to see you too. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. You're a parent. I'm sure that you can relate to the hundreds of thousands of Alberta parents right now that are navigating uncertain and unfamiliar waters as this teacher's strike stretches on. Not necessarily, obviously, 100% in your wheelhouse as an elected municipal official, but where's your head at as you see a massive gathering downtown Calgary at the McDougall Center and obviously see this story playing out across the province?
Well, first off, it was amazing to see how many Calgarians turned out at McDougall Center to support teachers and support students and parents. It was heartwarming. It was gut-wrenching. It was everything. There was a lot of emotion and just so much support for doing the right thing. And I can tell you, I've been speaking with friends of mine who are teachers. I have been in community meetings. I've been at the doors, and overwhelmingly, the thing that is consuming Calgarians right now is how they're going to get through this strike. There are parents wondering how long they're going to have to be off work to look after their kids at home. There are students incredibly concerned about getting the education they need to graduate in grade 12 for a lot of students. And there's concern amongst teachers. As you just read some of those emails, I've spoken with teachers who have said, I'm worried about my kids who need supports. I don't know how they're doing. Brown bagging it for Calgary's kids. They're concerned about how they're going to get meals to kids who need it. This is a massive issue. It impacts so many people. And I just wish the province would understand how detrimental this is right now and come to the table with an agreement that works for everybody.
Give us a sense in the city of Calgary. I mean, a big part of this, like I said, salary's part of it, but Jason Schilling was pretty specific yesterday, and it was obvious that he wanted to clarify that this is about more than just money, or at least more than just remuneration for the teachers. There's a lot of talk about class sizes. There's a lot of talk about resources, EAs, student supports, and the like. Calgary's growing at an estimated, like it's wild, adding between 80 and 100,000 citizens a year, looking at doubling its population over the next 10 to 15 years or so. When it comes to school capacity, when it comes to the growth of neighborhoods and the growth of the city, obviously that is provincial jurisdiction, the funding and the building of those schools, but you would see the impact of either having enough schools or not. As mayor, what's your assessment of where Calgary's at right now amid this significant growth?
We haven't kept pace at all, like in any possible way. My kid never went to school in our neighborhood. We just got public high school in North Central Calgary a couple of years ago. That was a fight that went on for over a decade. There's no attention to the infrastructure that's needed. There's no attention to the people that are needed to run the education system. And I can tell you, in my opinion, this strike is about respect. It's about respect for public education and making sure we are funding it properly for our kids. This isn't all about teachers. This is about the profession that allows everyone to thrive. Without a strong education, you're not going to be as successful. So I would, again, appeal to the provincial government to understand that this is about our future. It's about our economy. It is about everything that we value. So, I hope they're listening. I hope they're understanding how critical this is. And, for the people that are saying to me, stay in your lane, My lane is to represent the people who live in this city and make sure their life is one where they are valued and they can participate fully in the economy. And that's not happening right now.
You tweeted about 16 hours ago, Calgary is growing faster than any city in Canada, but we can't do it alone. You say, I'll continue to remind the province that partnership is a two-way street. The downloading must stop. The support must start. You say, I promise I'll continue fighting for on-purpose collaboration. Then you link to your website, jyotygondek.ca. What in particular prompted that tweet at this time?
I have to tell you, when we got the notification from the provincial government this year that they were going to take 15.6% more in property taxes than we had anticipated, and we figured out that that translates to 37% of Calgary's property taxes being sent up to the province for what they call an education tax, but they're not accountable to tell us what they're spending it on. That absolutely shook me. How can we be in a strike situation when you are taking this much money from municipalities and you already have a budget for education? Where's the money going? And why aren't we able to actually put it towards the service that's supposed to be provided, that being public education?
So you, and don't worry, I'm not asking you to answer for the council in Edmonton either, but I will say that you yourself as the mayor of Calgary and the incumbent mayor of Edmonton have both, I think, earned a bit of a reputation, or at least have a public perception that you're not exactly jiving with the provincial government. There's a bit of an adversarial relationship, and you could probably extrapolate that theory to municipalities in general. But Calgarians are about to decide who they want to be the mayor for the next 4 years. Do you think that your track record over the past 4, with a bit of a combative relationship, or a relationship that hasn't exactly worked collaboratively, like you just spelled out, you think it's going to hurt you on election day? Where do you think that Calgarians are at?
I think Calgarians understand that you need to have a mayor who works as collaboratively as possible until things fall apart. Let's not forget the Green Line fiasco that we went through last year. We had a deal. We had a deal in place. We were moving ahead with a project. And a month later, the provincial government reneged on that deal. And it took weeks for me to get them back to the table, to explain to them why that project was so important. I also encouraged my fellow councillors to reach out to anybody they knew in the province and tell them to get this project back on track. And guess what? We have shovels in the ground now on the Green Line. But that took work and that took fighting back. Let's talk about the collaboration that we've had that's worked really well. Last year, when we had the water feeder main emergency, I can tell you, I called the premier at 10 o'clock that night, briefed her quickly on the situation. I was on the phone with her again at about 5 o'clock in the morning the next day, asking if she would do an emergency alert. She agreed right away. She tasked Minister McIver at the time to be my key liaison. Minister Schultz was with us the entire time, making sure our drinking water quality was strong. That was a huge collaboration. And it came in the midst of something that Calgarians hadn't anticipated. So there's good and bad. We've had great collaboration, but I'll tell you, when I need to stick up for Calgarians and this city, I'm going to do it.
When you've been knocking on doors, when your team's been knocking on doors, what have you identified? I've asked each of the candidates this. What would you identify as the ballot box question in Calgary? Is there a single election issue that you've identified?
Well, I can tell you right now, people are worried about the teacher strike, and that's not something that's municipal, but it's on their mind. So they're looking for leadership. They want to know that they've got someone who's actually going to stand with them. And the other issues that are municipal in nature, number one on everybody's mind right now is public safety. I would say that is the biggest concern, whether it's public safety downtown or on transit or improvements in communities to make sure that pedestrians are safe, ensuring that we've got enough funding for emergency response. Those are top of mind for people right now.
You introduced a motion, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, wasn't it, to expedite development of that pilot program that's aimed at addressing open drug use in the city during a council meeting. I think it was on the 16th of September, if I'm right. A notice of motion on public safety. You say it's a move to restore safety in public spaces. Talk to us about drug use in cities. Talk to us about downtown safety. Calgary's grappling with it. Edmonton's grappling with it. Major cities across Canada are grappling with it. There have been different approaches. Vancouver, BC essentially walked back a pilot project in the other direction as they had received an exemption from Health Canada allowing for fewer arrests when it came to drugs. What leads you to believe that you have the plan that's going to work in Calgary?
There's no single thing that's going to fix this problem. It's going to take a lot of work from a lot of partners. I have been in constant communication with the recovery community in Calgary. I've been talking to housing providers. I have liaised with the province several times, and all of us need to do our part. And this is the part that I thought Calgary could do well. If we ban open drug use and we make sure that any violations are sent to community court where people can actually receive the supports that they need, it puts us in a better position because we're able to address the root cause of why people are using openly. And it also provides that safety element to people who are downtown or in public spaces. It's not easy to watch someone in crisis because they have overdosed. It's not easy to explain to your kids what's happening. So we need to be looking at the public setting, and we need to do what we can as a municipality. But I'll tell you, we have to make sure that we've got the mental health and addiction supports in place that will help the number of people that are in need. And I know there's been some good moves made, and I know that Minister Wilson is very interested in making sure we get this right. So I remain optimistic, but I'm also going to say again, we need housing for people. We need supportive housing while people are seeking treatment or they're in recovery. We need supportive housing for people that have disabilities, for people that have mental health needs. Supportive housing right now is the number one thing that will help us with the public safety issues we have.
Property taxes, and I think more generally speaking, affordability issues are front of mind, I'm sure, for a lot of voters. What's your plan with all things considered, all priorities stacked up to keep Calgarians, particularly in the context of property taxes, from getting priced out in their own city?
Well, it's a combination of things that we have to do. When it comes to housing, we have been incredibly successful with our housing strategy. We received $228 million from the federal government in the Housing Accelerator Fund and a top-up of another $28 million. We have been able to put that to really good use. There were 17 city-owned sites that we were able to sell below market to nonprofit housing providers. And those folks have been able to start construction. And in some cases, those units are actually open. And we've been creative. There is actually a project right now with Attainable Homes Calgary that is a modular build. So we are trying everything we can to get more housing to market. We have also provided incentives to people who want to build safe secondary suites in their homes, and that program has had a lot of uptake. We have been providing per door incentives to people who are including affordable housing in the buildings they are building right now. There's about 91 items in our housing strategy that are intended to address housing affordability.
Talking to Calgary Mayoral candidate, that sun, that beautiful sun, that morning sun. Most people are going to listen to this on the podcast, but let's have a laugh for a second. For those that are watching on YouTube, you have been moving every 30 seconds trying to keep that sun from just absolutely blasting you in your eyes. But who knows? You can find a metaphor, I'm sure. It's a new day. It's a new era. The future is bright in Calgary, but I commend you for your pivoting on the fly as we're talking. Ms. Where's the comment? Ms. Katie, pardon me, is watching us live right now on YouTube in our live chat powered by Park Power. She says, Gondek is not mentioning blanket rezoning because she's behind it. Not saying safety concerns are not an issue, Ms. Katie says, but I've not heard that once at the doors. Blanket rezoning is the issue. Some of the other candidates have vowed to repeal blanket rezoning. Where do you stand on it? What do you perceive as the biggest issue around it? And what's your message to Calgarians?
It is absolutely something I'm hearing at the doors. And a lot of it is misinformation. So there are people that are concerned that somehow the city is going to be able to knock down the house beside them and put up an apartment building. And we're trying to dispel that myth. So I would say when it comes to the rezoning decision that we took, it's actually layered in a lot of misinformation. And I will tell you this, a lot of people don't know that there were about 24 amendments that were brought to that decision based on what people had to say. When we had speakers come in, and there was 700 people that came to speak to us, many of them advocated in favor of rezoning because they wanted to see more housing. Many people were against it. They were incredibly concerned about what was going to be built next door or across the street. That was overwhelmingly the thing that was concerning them. And the folks that came in with lived experience saying, what went up beside me never should have been allowed, those are the folks that we listen to so carefully. And the amendments we brought actually give people a voice at the development permit stage. So at the stage that something is going to be built, in the past, public did not have a say because it was a permitted use. So you could put up the structure as long as it abided by the guidelines. What we have done now is said there needs to be an engagement process where we understand from community associations, from the Federation of Calgary Communities, from residents directly, what their understanding of contextually appropriate is. We've also asked for a how-to guide that describes what you should do when you're building a row house so that it's respectful of the community that you're going into. People's voices were actually added to a process where they previously didn't have one. And so I think that is something that people need to know. We have a report coming back to us to let us know what people have said. And we have the statistics coming back about how successful this has been and what we might need to change. So I can assure people, we built in your voice into the recommendations that we made. And we also built in a report back that allows us to see how the program is going and make any adjustments that we need to, should there be any required.
Recent polling, and I don't know how much you're reading into polls. I'm sure that your team has internal polling as well, but the numbers that I've seen show you, one of your former colleagues on council, Jeremy Farkas, and one of your current colleagues, I guess, on council, Sonia Sharp, all polling within about 5 points of each other, described as a 3-horse race. We'll hear more, obviously, on this Friday's episode of Real Talk on the 10th, Real Talk Calgary Mayoral debate, where all 3 of you plus 2 more, Jeff Davison and Brian Thiessen, will be joining us to present your vision and obviously talk about what separates you from the others. But did you envision a race where the polling would be this tight? And how is it affecting or impacting how you're campaigning and your message to constituents?
I don't go into elections worrying about, what the polls are going to say. I go in with a clear vision and I make sure that people understand what the vision is. And I think it's incredibly important right now to demonstrate to Calgarians that we are in a good position. Things are very optimistic for our city. The foundational work that we have done over the last 4 years has resulted in investor confidence in our city. The fact that we have been able to do downtown office to residential conversions and create 1,500 more homes downtown, that is something that's recognized across North America. We are being looked at as the exemplar for getting that right. And we still have 10 more of those projects on the books. The fact that we are creating the strongest inland port in Canada right here in the Calgary region, the fact that we have a private sector partner who is doing a rail-served hub right here along the CPKC line, that means we can move goods from Canada to the US to Mexico. It's 30,000 jobs and $7 billion worth of economic uplift. We have been investing in ourselves and making decisions that are taking care of the future of our city. And I think people want to see that kind of vision. I believe that people want to know that we have done good foundational work and our future is going to be bright, like the sun.
Like the sun. Blasting your eyes ever since this interview first started. Listen, it's great to see you. Appreciate your availability. This officially concludes. This is the 5th of 5 one-on-ones with the mayoral candidates down in Calgary. We look forward to seeing you in action again remotely on Friday, the 10th of October, 8:30 live right here on Real Talk.
Thank you. We'll see you then.
Okay, thanks, Jyoti. That's Dr. Jyoti Gondek, the incumbent, the mayor of Calgary, seeking re-election. It's a tight race. Not dissimilar, Johnny, actually, to where Edmonton's at. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I guess probably the biggest difference between Calgary and Edmonton, down in Calgary, the incumbent is seeking re-election, while in Edmonton, the incumbent is not. But other than that, you've got, 3 candidates for sure. And I would say you've got 5. I got to be careful how I say this. I was going to say 5 respectable campaigns down in Calgary. I'm not saying the other campaigns are not respectable, but let me say
Shots fired.
You've got at least 5 campaigns that are polling over 5%. So that's pretty solid. They've got Farkas, the one poll, and you look at different polls, you get different numbers. But the Think IQ, what was it called again? That Think IQ. It was a polling agency that I wasn't 100% familiar with. But these different agencies coming out. Farkas around 20%. They had him at that one. I think they had Sharp at 17, Gondek at 16, something like that. So, within 5 of each other, within 4. In Edmonton, similar story, right? Knack, Walters, and Cartmel are kind of the big 3, but then you've got these other campaigns as well. You got Rahim Jaffer still in the race. There were some rumors. Some people are talking about, there's a lot of politicking behind the scenes. Maybe we'll pick Stephen Mandel's brain on this in a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
But a lot of people are talking about how in Edmonton, one of the interesting dynamics is you've got the one so-called, and I'm kind of dumbing it down here, real talkers. Like I'm oversimplifying it a little bit here. I'll acknowledge, but you've got Andrew Knack, who's kind of the progressive candidate, right? Like Knack's the one that's bigger, obviously, on public transit. Not to say the others don't support it, but Knack's a real champion of that. He cycles to his Real Talk interviews. He cycles to work. He tweets about and posts about the new Taylor Swift album. Like Knack's kind of identified where his target is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you've got other candidates, including, let's say Cartmel, he spelled out and doubled down on his Real Talk message, our Real Talk Edmonton Mayoral debate on the 3rd of October. If you missed it, check it out. It was great. It was a banger. I think it was the best mayoral debate I've seen, obviously a biased opinion. But Cartmel leaned into the impression that he says he knows people have him. And he goes, I know people think I'm the UCP candidate. And he spoke to it directly. Then he re-released the clip from his own social media this weekend saying people think I'm the UCP. Like he wants to hit that head on. But other people will go, well, you got Rahim Jaffer, 4-term conservative MP that wants to be mayor. You got Omar Mohammed, who, I don't know if it's fair to call him conservative. He comes on and talks about bringing back plastic bags and tearing up bike lanes. So
yeah, he's kind of in this weird, mushy center that goes back and forth.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he's a big believer in social services too, whatever. I'm actually very intrigued by the Omar Mohammed campaign.
Yeah.
My wish.
Heard he's a Bad Bunny fan too, so him and Michael go head to head.
My wish is that Omar Mohammed was running for a seat on council because he'd win by a landslide.
Yeah. He's a likable guy.
He's a very likable guy. You can check out our one-on-one with him.
They at the debate, I'm not sure if you watched. I watched it before our debate,
the chamber debate.
And as they come in, they give a round of applause or whatever. He got a pretty riled up crowd.
Well, he
I don't know if
the
that's
stands.
of
he
course,
the
but
crowd. Yeah.
he's a likable guy. He's got a following. I do want to reference something yesterday, and we talked about this after.
Sure.
Taylor Swift is the most streamed artist of the last 2 years, 24 and 23. Bad Bunny second. He had the 3 years before, 20, 21, and 22, because we did say that on air, and afterwards you were like, I can't believe that. But obviously Taylor's had a crazy 2 years. We don't know about 25 yet, but yeah, she's just insane. But yeah, he when he walked in, and even if he did have, kind of what you want to call, quote, plants there, it just, he seems to have a good backing.
Yeah,
even if you think his numbers aren't great, he has support, and he's raised a ton of money.
I wouldn't say they're plants. I would say he just has supporters buying tickets to attend the debate, which is great. So you've got him, who's kind of this wild card in the campaign. And by the way, if you check out his social media too, I don't know if you saw his most recent post, he shoots a video I'm talking about Omar Mohammed, shoots a video right outside Tim Cartmel's campaign headquarters.
Tim Cartmel's raised a lot of money too.
Cartmel's raised more than the rest of them combined.
$850,000 or something.
And then you got Rahim Jaffer, who's still in the race. And Rahim, I'm not sure if you guys saw, I posted about it on Friday after he posted and called us out.
Can we show it?
Yeah, of course we can show it.
Please bring it up.
Rahim was,
and
listen, I understand where he's coming from, where his team's coming from. All of our friends down in Calgary are like, did you guys just pivot real quick to make everything about Calgary all of a sudden all about Edmonton?
No.
We'll talk about both cities. We love both cities. And again, the Calgary debate coming up right here on the show on the 10th of October. That's this Friday. But Rahim Jaffer's team posted after our episode, and I mean, this is just logistics. Like, we can have three guys, we can have 3 people around our table in studio. And so that's the way that it goes. Here's my tweet. And so we went with the top 3 polling candidates. It was a logistics decision. We'll have the top 5 in Calgary because they're joining us by Zoom. We'll have a Brady Bunch looking screen with the 6 of us stacked. But Rahim Jaffer releases following about a half hour after our debate. Today, Edmonton mayoral candidate Rahim Jaffer called out local broadcaster Ryan Jesperson for excluding him from a mayoral debate on his show Real Talk. The debate will feature only status quo candidates, Tim Carmel, Andrew Knack, and Michael Walters, 3 counselors who together have spent nearly 30 combined years at City Hall presiding over failure and decline. There's nothing real about this so-called debate, Jaffer said. 70% of Edmontonians believe these counselors have done a terrible job and want them gone. I have emerged as the leading voice for real change in this election, and Edmontonians should be able to hear what that looks like. Excluding me only proves the people that made this mess are scared of being held accountable. And the release goes on from there and spells out more of his platform. Now, I get it. Like I said, I'd be choked if I was Rahim Jaffer as well. I would want a seat around the table. Logistically not possible. I did point out, and I will point out now, again, Johnny, we can show it, that we did welcome, obviously, Rahim Jaffer to studio for what I thought was a great interview, as a matter of fact. That was about a month ago. You can check it out on our YouTube archive, our podcast archives. It was the 28th of August where Rahim Jaffer talks to us. I clocked it, by the way. 38 minutes he was with us. So a nice, lengthy interview to get into his platform. But Jaffer unhappy he wasn't included in that debate. It was nothing against Mr. Jaffer. It was a question of logistics. The reason I'm talking about this is that there have been some rumblings that there's work happening behind the scenes. Some of these, if you want to call them leading campaigns, although it feels like anybody's game right now, some of these leading campaigns are trying to get some of these candidates to pull out of the race, because they feel like you've got Knack on the progressive side, and then you've got Cartmel, Walters, Mohammed, and Jaffer all fighting for the same piece of the pie.
Yeah.
And the concern is for the small C conservatives that Andrew Knack will walk away from this thing with everybody else taking, their share of the vote between 7 and 15%. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens between now and the 20th of October. We'll note that advanced polls are now open as of yesterday, the 6th of October. I want to get to more of your emails. The teacher strike, we're going to be with you every single step of the way on this, Alberta, and we know that some of you are watching from the rest of Canada as well with a keen eye. That includes Supriya Dwivedi, who joined us on the 6th of October, who joined us yesterday like she does first episode of every single week, giving us her take from Ontario on what she's seeing and similarities between the Danielle Smith and Doug Ford governments. If you missed that episode, be sure to check it out. Andrea wrote in, signed off, by the way, a very sad teacher. She said, I sure appreciate, Ryan, your approach to every issue, but I do feel like there were some vital pieces missing from your conversation with Jason Schilling from the ATA. Andrea says, I'm a veteran teacher in Alberta, teaching since 1988. She says, I don't make $100,000. If that was the only issue on the table, I would have voted in favor of the last offer, but I did not vote just for myself. Andrea says, I have the privilege of working in a small rural school with wonderful kids, families, colleagues, but there are far too many struggles in school that I have never witnessed before. She's been teaching since 88. She says the final straw was the offer of adding a free COVID shot. She says it was so wildly inappropriate, so insulting. It cinched my vote. She probably means it clinched my vote of no to the offer. This was the second time the teachers have voted no to an offer that's, by the way, been negotiated by their union in the province. We'll get details. We'll get insights on that from the education minister tomorrow. Andrea says every person in this province deserves access to free vaccines and leadership that cares enough to make it happen. So for Andrea, it's a matter of principle. She says, I genuinely cannot understand how Danielle Smith and her government can be proud of this behavior. She is everything we teach kids not to be. That from Andrea, signing off, a very sad teacher. Also got this from Robyn, and I thought that this was an important perspective to represent. She says, Jespo, I just finished listening to your interview with ATA President Jason Schilling. I want to begin by expressing my full support for all teachers, public, charter, and private. My children are now both in public high school, and although they're a grade apart, this is the first time they're attending the same school. One of them went through the public system from K to 9, had an excellent experience, dedicated teachers. The other attended a charter school for gifted children during those years. She, too, received a strong education from outstanding educators. We feel especially fortunate she had access to that charter school, particularly in her early years. Robyn says, well, I can't speak for all charter schools. I do want to speak to the importance of supporting gifted learners, which was the focus of our daughter's chartered school. She says, giftedness is not just about being smart. There's also asynchronous, did I say that right? Asynchronous development. A child's intellectual age may far exceed their emotional or their social age. For example, a 10-year-old might think like a 16-year-old, but still regulate emotions like a 10-year-old. And this mismatch can lead to frustration, loneliness, even confusion for the child and those around them. Without the right environment, these kids may become disengaged, restless, even defiant. It's important to clarify that charter schools in Alberta are public, not private. I asked Jason yesterday about private and charter schools, and he talked about them. Robyn obviously responding to that. She says charter schools are nonprofit. They receive public funding. They employ certified teachers, and they follow the Alberta curriculum. What sets them apart is their mandate to offer basic education in a different or enhanced way to fill gaps that aren't addressed by the local public school board. We never paid additional fees for her to attend the charter school, and we wouldn't have been able to, says Robyn. She says, I think it's important to share because painting or pitting public schools against charter and private schools furthers the divisive us versus them mentality when all we want is to collectively raise a generation of decent human beings. That's a fantastic email from Robyn. And Robyn and others, I'm sure I've shared with you before, I've disclosed on this show, my educational journey was somewhat similar as well. I attended a private school in Calgary from preschool, basically call it K to 9. I attended a public high school. I attended a private university. I finished my degree at a public university, and then I went to a public polytechnic school before I entered the workforce. So I feel like I've had exposure to different systems. I'm familiar with different funding models. I think I understand, at least to a certain degree, as a child's awareness can provide, what may influence families' decisions to send their kids to a private school. I understand why private school families feel as though they deserve a bigger share of the pie. Alberta gives more than any other province of educational tax dollars to private schools, more than anywhere else in the country. And private school families oftentimes feel like they deserve more. They're paying the taxes. This is where they're choosing to send their kids. This is where they'd like the funding. And then, of course, before we get 1,500 emails, we'll acknowledge that big backers and proponents and supporters and those in the public school system will argue that the more that you invest or the more funding that you divert or commit or allocate to private schools, the less support there is for public schools. And the inevitable result is that those schools are weakened in a number of different capacities. I think that you can argue both positions, and I think that it's a compelling argument, and I don't think that it's an argument, or let's say a discussion, that we should be afraid of having. And of course, at a time like now, when you've got more than 50,000 teachers off the job and hundreds of thousands of students at home in an unfamiliar position, early October, a week out from Thanksgiving, not in class, and of course, we're talking about billions of dollars. These are the types of conversations we need to have. This is the forum where we can have those conversations. We'll continue to do so. We'll get to more of your emails. Johnny, I want to get into some of our Instagram comments. We have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments on our different posts, social posts relating to the teachers' strike. So we'll get to that before the show is out. But in just a second, we're going to welcome to the show one of the most... This guy, I love talking with this guy. Before I profess my admiration for him, maybe I should do it to his face when he's sitting with me, but one of the most straight shooting politicians or former politicians that you'll ever meet. Former Mayor of Edmonton, Stephen Mandel, going to join us in studio for his assessment of where the city, and for that matter, the province is at. That coming up in just a moment. First, I want to let you know this conversation is happening with the support of our friends at California Closets. With custom closets and storage solutions for the whole home, California Closets, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. California Closets can work with any budget in any space and absolutely transform it. Whether it's getting your laundry room organized into a space you can be proud of, whether it's taking a home office, hiding the printers and the chargers so it's a room that you can showcase, California Closets designers can put together a plan that'll work with what you can afford and increase the value of your home. You can book your free consultation today by visiting californiaclosets.ca. Friesen Brothers has you ready for Thanksgiving, I'll tell you that much, with their Thanksgiving dinner box. This is an annual tradition for our family. I'll tell you what we do. A couple of weeks out from Thanksgiving, or in this case, let's say a few days out from Thanksgiving weekend, we visit our local Friesen brothers. You can check out cateringbyfriesen.com as well. And you place your order. Perfectly roasted turkey, delicious sides like the roasted baby potatoes, the show-stopping creamy dill carrots, the Mother Dough Bread Company tray buns, gravy, cranberry sauce. They have you covered. You can add on Ukrainian sausage, granny stuffing, that pierogi casserole that'll blow your mind, sourdough cinnamon buns, hot apple crisp, or even handcrafted fruit or pumpkin pies. You know, the Thanksgiving dinner box is only $79 plus GST to feed 4 people. I dare you to try to put together a Thanksgiving meal like this for less than $79. And in this case, their Red Seal chefs are doing all the work. It's a no-brainer. Order your Thanksgiving dinner box today. They can go vegan too. Johnny's tried it out. Unbelievable at cateringbyfriesen.com. When we talk about the state of our cities, when we talk about the state of social services, we have to talk about agencies and organizations like UCAN Youth Services. This is Real Talk's charity of choice this year, a nonprofit organization helping young people out of harm's way and onto a path of economic independence. Now, they do that through a number of different programs, including the Road to Work program. This is a pre-employment program, 7 weeks, that puts 18 to 25-year-olds in a position where they're getting trained, they're getting certified, and they're ready to step into entry-level construction jobs. If you work in the construction or road building industry and you're in charge of hiring entry-level workers, you need them to be motivated. You want them to be committed to the task at hand. Consider reaching out to UCAN Youth Services. Some of Alberta's biggest construction companies are currently working with UCAN, and they're seeing return on that investment big time. You can connect with UCAN today at ucan.ca. And also, I wanted to remind you that coming up on Thursdays here on the show, we feature big stories, exciting stories of Alberta winning on the national and international stage. It's Alberta Wins, presented by Play Alberta. Right now, I have to let you know, on the eve, Johnny, of the Battle of Alberta to kick off the Edmonton Oilers season with a re-signed Connor McDavid, Play Alberta's offering odds boosts on every Oilers game all season long. And for a limited time only, Real Talkers can get an exclusive $50 free bet when they deposit $50 using the code Ryan50. That's Ryan50 for an exclusive $50 free bet. You can learn more details at playalberta.ca. Download the app today. Alberta wins with Play Alberta. You must be 18 or older to play. If you gamble, please use your game sense. Well, when I think of a straight shooter, I think of this guy, and I've been trying to get this guy to come on this show for quite some time, and today my dream comes true. It is former Edmonton mayor, former Alberta health minister for that matter.
Short period of
a very
time.
short period of time. Former Alberta Party leader, entrepreneur, mover and shaker, Stephen Mandel. Welcome to our studio in the beautiful, historic Mercer Warehouse in downtown Edmonton.
It's quite beautiful here. I mean, your studio, your area here is quite lovely. I could move and have a sleep myself.
Well, this is you sort of lived the experience that we envisioned when we built this place. You walked in, you grabbed yourself a cup of tea, you sat on the couch, you made yourself comfortable. It's what it's all about. It's what we want people's downtown experience to be like. Not everybody's downtown. I'm just rolling in hot right now with the first pitch fastball. Not everybody's downtown experience involves chilling out on an overstuffed couch with a cup of tea. Edmonton's downtown's a little bit different maybe than it was with what you envisioned with a lot of the initiatives I'm sure we'll talk about with you sitting here. But what's your assessment of what you're seeing around you right now?
Well, it's sad to see downtown become such a disaster. It's sad that the city downtown has become a place of last resort, that people aren't coming down here. It's really very distressing for me to see that this great city has lost, the sense of how important the downtown is. And hopefully whoever becomes mayor, and obviously who I've chosen, but begins to focus a bit on downtown, try to work with the homeless community, try to work with the agencies, and rebuild a sense of commonality in our downtown, because it really is the place where people identify who the city is and what the city is. And when we lose that, we lose a sense of what Edmonton is. and it's very sad.
I'll let people know when you say you obviously I know who you've chosen or who you've chosen to endorse. You've chosen to endorse candidate Michael Walters. I don't want to lead out. That's not why you're here. This is not for you to sit here and talk about Michael Walters. But we'll get to that in a bit. But how, in your assessment, like first of all, you say that Edmonton or the Edmonton's downtown has lost it. Has it evaporated, or can Edmonton get it back? Like, do you have faith that this is something? You're an entrepreneur. Do you have faith that this is something with business savvy, with investment from different levels of government, with investment from private capital, that this is something that can Edmonton's downtown be restored to former glory?
I'm questioning whether it can or can't. I really think there needs to be a coalition of business and government, but there needs to be an understanding by government that the degree to which downtown has fallen, there needs to be some substantial incentives to bring people back downtown. My wife came downtown all the time to do her work. I mean, to get her nails done and do various things, do some shopping. She doesn't do it anymore. Why? Because she can't get downtown from the West End. Every road is blocked. You can't move anywhere in this bloody city. It's a nightmare to drive here. I left my house about 20 minutes early to get here because I knew the routes I'd have to take made it a longer drive. So we've done everything possible to discourage people to come downtown. And so government, whoever gets in, becomes the next mayor, next council, has to understand there needs to be some form of incentives to bring people back downtown, to create some interest in the commercial business and in the office space business, which has absolutely collapsed, and to try to recreate a downtown that isn't just an arena, but is more than about life and about building a quality of life downtown that's really one that's going to make Edmonton a much more attractive city.
You reference the arena with your hand here because we're about, 40 meters from the arena here in our studio. It's literally right across the street. There's no building closer to the arena. There's no office closer to Rogers Place than the Real Talk studio in the capital city. Put it that way.
You've done it. You're the man.
Just a humble, it's not actually so humble. It's just a straight up brag. But the reason I say it, the reason I bring it up is the arena probably wouldn't be here, or at least it wouldn't have happened the way it did without your leadership. That was obviously probably one of the key parts of your legacy, along with what else would you impart to? You're going to shrug it off, but with regards to your legacy, obviously that sort of Churchill Square area with the art gallery and some of the renovations that happened. I don't know if you want to take credit for the Milner Library. That thing's a bit of a spaceship, but when you look at it, those were obviously identified as very important to you, and you moved mountains to make those happen. You understood that it was important to invest in downtown. What's happened since, in your assessment?
Nothing.
Why?
Well, I think, COVID hit and that had an impact. I think there's been a loss of interest in downtown. There's been a challenge with bringing people downtown to get investment downtown. I talked to friends of mine who have invested down here that are losing nothing but money. There needs to be a desire to build a downtown, and just forming a committee or doing a this and a that will never work. You have to take some major steps to create the atmosphere so investment's going to come. Government can't do it. Government has to stop trying to do it. Government has to get out of the way and allow business to do it. But they need to incentivize various businesses so they can be creative and do the kind of things that might reestablish our downtown. But we also did lots for where we built lots of recreation centers, built libraries, built roads, built overpasses. Lots of stuff happened. Actually, we probably spent less money downtown than anywhere else because, more people live outside of the downtown area. But people need to understand that the downtown is the definable part of what a city is, whether it's Edmonton or Calgary or Toronto or New York, whatever it is. People don't go to look in the suburbs. Oh, isn't that a beautiful suburb? Boy, I love that one. Look at those sidewalks. Boy, they're nice and wide. No. They come downtown to go to a museum, to go to an art gallery, to go to a play. They go to do something which is more than just looking at a sidewalk. And right now, people aren't coming to see our beautiful facilities that are downtown.
Billy G is in our live chat, powered by Park Power, your friendly local utilities provider, and says Edmonton is the absolute worst city for construction. Do you believe that Edmonton's worse than other major cities? And if so, why?
I don't know. I mean, when I drive in this city, if that's what he's alluding to, it's a joke. I mean, there's not a road you get on. I mean, the 87th Avenue, which has got the LRT on, is all tied up for the last 25 years. I'm only kidding, for a number of years. And then let's say, what can we do? Let's make 95th another problem. Let's make another one. We can't get downtown.
104th.
Jasper, 104th, 100th, every street you get on. Who are these guys that are trying to destroy the city?
So who should fall on the sword here? Because I hear a lot of people, there's some people, I'm not trying to direct the narrative here, but I hear from a lot of people that are saying they will not vote for a candidate that is currently on council based on principle because they are presiding over an absolute disaster right now. Do you think that that's a fair approach? I mean, city councilors aren't setting the construction schedule. Whose fault is it?
Well, it's leadership. I mean, the city council does not set the construction schedule, but city council and the mayor are the leaders of which need to take responsibility for the actions of the city. Simple as that. And when the disaster like we have now is apparent, then somebody needs to step in and say, wait a minute, slow down a bit. First of all, we're broke. We got $650 million a year in interest and debt payments, plus, I don't know how we're doing on our capital projects. But slow down a little bit. You don't have to rebuild every single corner in the city of Edmonton from one end to the other. And I hear people in the South guys complaining, how long did it take to finish the Twilliger Road? My God, Rome was built quicker than some of our projects. I don't know why it takes so long. We're going to build a little road on 102nd Avenue that's a little overpass. It's going to take 18 months. It isn't any wider than a big sidewalk. Why does it take us so long? I don't know. I'm not a contractor. I'm a simple little business guy that looks at these things and says, what's wrong with this picture?
You're not a simple little business guy. I shared with the audience that you and I grab lunch a couple of times a year, and every time, it actually kind of pisses me off. It subtle pisses me off that every time you and I go for lunch, people approach our table every single time and basically ask me to hold the camera while they get a photo with you. It's provided a perspective check and arguably much needed humility for me. But it reminds me, and actually to be serious for a second, of the way that you connect with people and the way that people connect with you. There was a rumor that you were considering running again. I demanded an answer from you over lunch at Sorrentino's several months ago.
Good lunch, too.
It was a wonderful lunch. Incredible service. There's something about lunch with white tablecloths that just really does it for me. But you insisted to me that you were not considering running for mayor of Edmonton again. You said you weren't signing up for it, but you had not ruled out seeking a seat on council. Why didn't you end up doing it?
Well, I thought more seriously about it, and my wife thought even more seriously about it.
Lynn?
And the decision was made.
Okay.
In my dreams, I thought it'd be wonderful to get back on council because I'm so passionate about this city, and I see things that are going so wrong so often, and there's so many frustrated people. And I thought, well, gee, I could get on there and get a voice of reason and hopefully bring back some sanity to what I think has been a very, very divisive and unproductive council. And then I thought, wait a minute here, what are you, an idiot? It's long enough. You were there, you did your time. Younger people need to come on. They need to take the leadership. And, I'm quite happy with many of the council candidates, and obviously Michael is running for mayor. But really, we need someone that's going to be able to build consensus, can bring people together. We've got troubles. We've got troubles in our financial position. We look at our debt and all the money we're spending. We need to slow it down. We need to understand neighborhoods need to be treated fairly, that they shouldn't be disrespected. There's all kinds of issues that this council raised with lack of disrespect for people, and I think it needs to be challenged, and we'll see what happens on October 20th. But as far as me, my time has come and gone. Okay. I loved it. I don't think there was any greater job than being the mayor of Edmonton. I would have never left except I thought, hey, it's enough. You got to go. But I hope that whoever wins the next election brings a degree of sanity and brings a degree of cooperation and really leadership to city council, so they work together to move the city forward, not in this conflicting and contradictory way.
You describe it as a divisive and unproductive council. I've described it, and I think fairly, I'll stand by my words, as a dysfunctional council. And I think that there's lots of evidence to support that claim. But so when you hand the baton over, you did not seek re-election. You didn't lose an election. You hand the baton over essentially to Don Iveson. Don Iveson ultimately leaves, doesn't lose an election, and Amarjeet Sohi wins. How would you describe the change in culture or the change in council performance or perspective from yourself to Iveson, from Iveson to Sohi?
Well, I think when you look at Don, I mean, he inherited, I think, an awful lot of projects moving forward. So he didn't have to do a whole bunch of things to move the city forward. And then COVID hit, and I think that was a real challenge for anybody and everybody. And so that was a problem. And then Amarjit took over, and I think he had an opportunity to build. And Amarjit's a wonderful person, I know him personally.
Great guy.
You cannot find a finer, nicer person that loves this city, that cares deeply about Edmonton. But things went awry, and I'm not pointing a finger at him or anybody else, but things just didn't happen, whether it was the inexperience in city council, but I kept hearing meetings were going hour after hour after hour after hour and arguing about things that were just not relevant. They were fighting with the police all the time, and it was just didn't make sense to be doing those kind of things, but they did them, and on and on and on. And now we're at election, and I hope that the citizens kind of remember back of what happened the last 4 years, and don't just look at what one particular group is saying. They need to go out and evaluate what's happened, what can happen, and who can be the leader they want. I mean, I have chosen mine, but that doesn't mean other people can't look at other options. I mean, this is a very crucial time for our city. And I think if we get the wrong group there, we're going to keep going backwards and backwards and backwards like we've done over the last 4 years. And it's very, very disconcerting to me. Almost tears come to my eyes to see how this city is falling behind everywhere you go. I mean, there's a couple of things that have come to my attention. We don't want to talk about them today, that are so frustrating. And it's really the provincial relationship with the city, which is horrible, and that they can't fight for the city. Someone needs to fight for Edmonton. We're getting screwed, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, constantly by every goddamn government in this country because no one respects our city. We're like the laughing stock, and I'm sick and goddamn tired of it.
How did we get to that point?
I don't know. You need to elect some people that are strong, that are going to stand up. These people, work with them. I mean, you can stand up and work with people. You don't have to say, oh, yes, 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 yes. You can say, wait a minute, that doesn't work for me. That isn't any good. How about this? How about some other options? I mean, but we haven't done that because we don't sit in the same room. We don't work with them in the same way. I mean, our prime minister is from Edmonton. We should be able to get a relationship with him. I mean, unfortunately, our current premier and our city council and mayor weren't exactly, on dinner calling duties together. Hopefully, whoever gets in will be able to have a better relationship. But they need to know our city's damn well important, that people have to care about it, and people have to start fighting for it. I mean, this teacher strike, and I don't want to get into that, is a sad example of what's happened where things have decayed. We need to get leadership in the city to build our city back up because we've fallen a long way. And it's damn frustrating to me to see how Edmonton is just kind of collapsed. Look at downtown. And I have people coming from out of downtown, and they look at downtown, they say, what's going on? All you have is homeless. There's not another person in the street. And he's right. I downtown fair often. I come down because I have to do some business. And I come down to eat, specifically downtown to eat, because I feel these businesses need some help. And I'm a good eater. And
you're very good.
Yeah, I'm a very good eater. And don't look at these days. I've lost some weight, but so I'm just so passionate about why can't we be creative about downtown East and come up with some ideas. Look at the joke they've done at the airport. I mean, that development is how can that be so bad? I mean, a developer would never let anything go that wrong.
But you stuck your neck out to close the municipal airport. Yeah. So let's look at it. I received, and I read the email on the show. I don't remember what show it was, but a real talker called me to the carpet. Yeah. Fair enough. I invite them to do it. Talk at RyanJesperson.com, and said that I was being unfair in my assessment of Blatchford. I think I called it a debacle, or I had some word that I used, a boondoggle maybe, because I drive past it almost every single day, and it's barely moved. He said, well, listen, some people are moving in, and some homes are under construction. But your vision, because you did stick your neck out there, and for a lot of people see, can I just call it how I see it? A lot of people see you as, you've done well in business, you have deep pockets, you have connections, you're able to obviously connect with people in real estate, you're able to make the arena deal. You got this sly fox smile on your face right now, but people saw you're not someone who grinded it out for public servant wages over the course of your career. You've been a successful person, and I would imagine that you took a risk among Edmonton's movers and shakers and business leaders and wealthier people by shutting down the airport where all of their private jets were landing and taking off from. But you did it because you had a vision that land could be better utilized. 10, 15 years later, your thoughts?
It's ridiculous. I mean, what developer in the right mind will leave a bunch of dirt piles everywhere? I mean, it's not even conducive. Oh, let's go there because it's so pretty. And it's not an attractive development. if you can't do it right, don't do it. And the city doesn't have the capacity to do it right. At the end of the day, what happens? Oh, well, we have a Blatchford that looks like it's only 1/10 done. Why didn't they develop on on Princess Elizabeth Avenue and Kingsway instead of way in the other end, which would have been far more attractive? Why didn't they become more creative in what they're doing? Why are they creating such an expensive development where people aren't going to be able to afford to go there? All those things were, made it negative. And then on top of now, they're going to knock down, not that I don't want to get into that discussion either, knock down the old arena. And now they're going to develop that too. And it's going to be another.
Why do you keep saying you don't want to get in these discussions?
Well, because I'll be here for 8 years.
I don't give a shit, man. We could be here as long as you want.
Okay, sure. Well, I think they should try to do something with the old arena rather than knock it down.
What would you do with it?
Well, I think I know what condition it is in now. I try to rekindle it. Try to put it into a place for that area of town to have, like, there's a tremendous demand for basketball courts, pickleball courts, and I don't think it would be, if you talk to province and the city's going to cost them. I remember when I was talking to the city council, the city said it was going to be $30 million to tear it down. Now it's 50. I said it was going to be 50.
I think it's over 100.
Yeah. So I mean, what is wrong with these people? You can fix it, and I think you can get into it and build something that's going to be an effective facility for that end of the city. And that would be a great advantage, and then develop some stuff around it. Right now, we're going to tear it down. It's going to sit empty for a number of years. It's just there's no vision, no thought of understanding what you can do rather than what you're doing.
Okay, we're hanging out with Stephen Mandel, a feature interview here on Real Talk presented by Mercedes-Benz Edmonton West. Doesn't mean you get a new Mercedes, I'm sorry to say, but at least we get to give them a shout out. We're not done. You look like you're getting up to leave. We're only getting started. Okay. I want to ask you about infill. I want to ask if it's impacting. Sure. Don't go yet. I want to ask you if it's impacting your own neighborhood. But before we do, I know you know when we're talking about the city center, when we're talking about what has made Edmonton tick for more than a century, the value of the Royal Alexandra Hospital. And Real Talkers, it's a huge year for the team at the Royal Alexandra Hospital. We've been talking 125 years, an incredible legacy, impacting lives in so many ways, beginning of life, end of life, and everywhere in between. And we're thrilled to let you know that Tuesdays here on Real Talk, for the next number of months, we will be telling you the stories, the echoes of the Alex, as the Royal Alexandra celebrates 125 years. This is the story of Joyce Helton. You know, every now and then you come across a story that reminds you just how deep a hospital's roots can go, not just in the community, but in people's lives. Joyce had a lifelong spirit of adventure, scuba diving in Mexico, exploring the mountains, saying yes to every new experience. But long before all of that, Joyce was a proud graduate of the Royal Alexandra Hospital School of Nursing. And she was a leader from the start, a student council member, valedictorian of the class of 1947. And she always told people how much she cherished her time at the Alex. She came back often for alumni teas and reunions, always proud of her specialized pediatric training in Montreal, where she earned top marks. And it was during those hospital days that she met Vincent. Vincent was an ag student from the U of A. Their first date on the skating rink. How Canadian is that? Pretty soon they were season ticket holders at the rink as well. And years later, when Joyce needed care of her own, she returned once again to the place that had shaped her, the Royal Alex. When she passed, Vincent honored Joyce's lifelong bond with a hospital through a generous gift in her name. Joyce's story is one of countless echoes of the Alex. These are stories of care, compassion, and connection that have defined this hospital for 125 years. To honor that legacy and to help build the next 125 years of healing, visit givetoRoyalAlex.org. These are the echoes of the Alex, presented Tuesdays here on Real Talk by the team at the Royal Alexandra Hospital Foundation. You've got to have a Royal Alexandra story or two. Our family, I feel like, has about 30 of them. Just an incredible institution.
Yes, and I'd like to say that's a great story, and thank you very much. Alex plays an incredible part in the history of this city and this province. But let me just say something on the other side of that. They need to have it rebuilt. It is, sham right now that that we're dealing in a hospital that is so old. Thank God for the Lois Hole Women's Hospital, which my wife was very active in. But there's a need for rebuilding the hospital. Same with, I was at the U of A, a friend of mine's in the hospital visiting him. People are in the hallway. Let's invest in some things, and maybe we go in debt to do it. We got to build some facilities. We got to build schools. We got to build hospitals. We got thousands and thousands of people coming here. Can't you say, oh well, maybe something's going to happen? We've got to make the commitment. And obviously, Edmonton, nobody cares about us because nothing's being built. While our neighbor to the south, which is a wonderful, phenomenal city, has gotten several hospitals. You
were Minister of Health for a brief period of time.
We got booted.
Then Premier Jim Prentice.
Yeah.
What an interesting time. You were for people that may not remember, I'm a political nerd and a geek, and so I follow this stuff.
It was so quick. It was a moment in time.
It was a moment in time, but you were appointed as health minister as an unelected member, right? You were not an MLA at the time, but you were the former mayor of Edmonton. You obviously had the respect of people in the province. You were appointed to that position, and then, as we know, 2015, everything changed, and the Conservatives lost that election. But what insights did you glean as health minister at that time that have influenced or impacted your perspective on health spending today? Like, it's not just the Royal Alex where people are being triaged in the hallways. I mean, it's a disaster. We had somebody write, I haven't read this. We're getting too many emails right now, which is a good problem to have. But we had one from someone that was telling us they don't have a family doctor right now. That's kind of a familiar refrain. But they needed attention. They had to get a lump checked is what the email tells us. So they ended up lining up outside Mediclinic or whatever you want to call it, like a health center at 6 a.m. with other people. Said it was 2 degrees below zero. This was just a couple of days ago, and she found herself wondering, where am I right now? It's not the Alberta that we expect, this prosperous province that brags to the rest of Canada, some of us anyway, that we'd be better off without them.
Well, the public healthcare system has its positives and its negatives. When you get really sick in a public system, like how they take care of you. But on the periphery, things like that person you indicated had to stand outside, or people have to wait months and months and months, maybe years, to get a knee or hip replaced. That's a problem. We need to rethink the system we have and how we can make it better, and we need to invest in it, and we need to find a more creative way to deliver service. And I think stop making Alberta Health Services the political football. Everybody wants to kick the crap out of them. They only take orders from the government and from Alberta Health. And so whatever anything's done with Alberta Health Services, it isn't them making the decision. The provincial government says, do it this way through Alberta Health, and they do it. But yet they're the political football. Let's stop them from doing this. They're not going to manage this. It's their fault the world is falling apart. It's not true. It's the direction that government has given Alberta Health Services that has created this atmosphere. Some great people working there. That's one thing I found as health minister. An incredible group of people there. But why we have two systems, Alberta Health and Alberta Health Services, I have no understanding. And there needs to be a rethinking of how we're working our healthcare system. And also, let's be fair. Let's put some, you talk about Royal Alex, let's put some money into research. I was at an event the other day and talked about some of the things they're doing at University of Alberta, the University of Calgary as well.
It's remarkable.
Let's invest in that. We're worried about what's going to happen in the future. Instead of worrying about all the crap, put several $100 million a year more into research, attract a bunch of people here who will then get hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of more grants to create an Alberta that is on the leading edge of technology. We can do that rather than do what we do now, which is, well, we're not going to fund this, we're not going to fund that. Let's commit to the future. I want my grandson to stay here, to build a future. And I'm worried he's going to say, wait a minute, there's no future here.
You worked closely, and by that I mean, as obviously as mayor of Edmonton with different premiers. You worked closer for a brief period. I don't mean to keep saying for a brief period of time, but it is what it is. It was a number of months, but with Premier Prentice. How would you characterize how this government under Danielle Smith is operating versus previous manifestations, previous Conservative governments?
I think this is more conservative, but more right wing, has a lot more pressure from people that are looking to move Alberta outside of Canada, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I think that there was within our caucus there was people of the center, of the right, of the left, and so there was voices from all different directions, and so the premier had to listen to everybody. I also had the privilege and the absolute honor of working with Premier Stelmach, who in my mind was the greatest premier this province has ever had. He was actually someone who treated Edmonton equitably, not in greater sense of other parts of the province, but equitably. Ed was just a tremendous premier who got treated incredibly poorly by certain groups of people. I'll never forgive that, but never forget what an incredible individual he is. He would go to events and he would stay there to the very end to talk to every single person that wanted to talk to him with politeness and kindness. Him and Marie are just unbelievable people. We've never will have, or I don't ever have anybody as magnanimous, as kind, as considerate as him. He is really an amazing individual.
He was just on the show a short time ago.
Oh, I didn't know.
Talking about his, he was talking about his support for this this Forever Canadian movement, which, by the way, Thomas Lukaszuk has just disclosed, I think a couple of days ago, I believe that they're at about 240,000 signatures.
I signed.
They're trying to get it to 300,000. You signed?
Oh, yeah, of course.
I would say why, but I feel like it's well, whatever. I don't take it for granted that some people feel strongly in the other direction, but let me ask you the question objectively. Why did you sign? Why is it important to you?
It's obvious. I mean, this is the greatest province in the country. But what is the word there? In the country. Mm-hmm. We have a great country. Now, is there some arguments about how we've, some of the issues with Ottawa? Sure, there always has been. But that doesn't change the fact that we're Canadian. And I'm darn proud I'm Canadian. And I would never, ever entertain voting for anything that would encourage us to leave this country and think that we'd be better off. There needs to be some changes, but there always needs to be changes. Whether it's provincially, municipally, federally, change is going to happen. But that's no excuse to say, well, let's leave the country. No.
I was in Ottawa this weekend speaking at this group Press Forward. It's called the Future of Independent Media Summit at Carleton University. Flight gets in late Friday, so basically early Saturday. I got to my hotel at 1 in the morning. But I was on Alberta. I was on Mountain Time, and I can't sleep after I fly, and so I just went for a walk outside the Chateau Laurier by the Rideau Canal, up by Parliament, and basically felt like I had it to myself almost, and the moon was there right behind. If you follow me on Instagram, Real Talkers, you may have seen it on my stories. The moon was right behind the clock tower. It was just incredible. And the water trickling down the Rideau Canal. And they have this wonderful installation there talking about the history of the Canadian flag. And starting obviously in the late 1950s when they started talking about replacing it, early 1960s when it was in. And then they talked about these formative moments. Henderson scores for Canada and the maple leaf there. And Terry Fox, the Marathon of Hope. And then they, backpackers in Europe with the maple leaf or Canadian servicemen and women in peacekeeping roles in Bosnia or where have you. And I was staring at it. I felt like I was at, to you synagogue, to me church. To me it was like I just sat there in reverence and just took it in. And I texted my pal Charles Adler, who, as you know, is now working in Ottawa as a Canadian senator, and just let him know I was in town. And he said, every time I'm in Ottawa, I fall more in love with Canada. I said to him, I'm having the exact same experience. And I wish almost, maybe not everybody would experience that. Not everyone's as much of a romantic as me, or maybe as emotionally susceptible as I am to those types of factors. But it was really something big for me as an Albertan to be there in the nation's capital and reflect on what it means to be Canadian.
Well, I've been to Ottawa too, and it's a phenomenal city.
Yeah.
And I just feel this is such a great country. My lineage came here in the late 1890s. There's people coming here all the time. I meet people from all over the world who have come to Canada for a better future. And this country offers that. And, we need to make sure we retain the sense of being Canadian. And I think we're losing that. What is be Canadian? When people say, well, we're not American. Well, we have a sense of people, a sense of making sure people can move ahead, can have proper care. And I just think this is such a phenomenal country. Why would we want to leave it? It just makes no sense whatsoever, because financially we're going to make a few more bucks. Come on.
Are we though?
I don't know. Some people say we will. I don't think so either.
Yeah, I guess by the time you set up your own passport office and your own police force and your own pension plan and your own everything else, and you don't have guaranteed. I mean, I've said all this stuff before. It's a tired argument. I'm sick of talking about it.
Yeah.
How is it going to be easier to build pipelines when you're not part of the country? It doesn't make any sense to me. I know that some people think they're smarter than the rest of us, but I have yet to be convinced. Enough talking about the happy stuff. I want to get another bee under your bonnet, because that's when you're best. Without disclosing your address, you live in a part of the city where there has been pretty significant infill development. We're seeing a lot of mid-block development. It has become one of the, if not the election issue. I would say it's one of the election issues. But what's your thought on how the city is being built, on how density is being addressed, and how Edmonton is growing in that context?
Well, there's no question we need density. But, we need to have respect for and understand the importance of community and neighborhood. And because you want to put up an 8-plex and take down 3 houses or 1 house doesn't give a sense of community. It doesn't give a sense of identity to the area around it. So I think that the city council needs to be much more cognizant of what they're doing when they're destroying communities. What community league's going to be left if all it is a few rental units of people who are passing through? I think it's a big issue because it's important to people. They love their community. They love their neighborhood. And I think that tearing it down is not an answer, but finding other ways to densify is the answer. And I look around because I'm kind of involved in the election, and look, there's hundreds and hundreds of corners in places around the city. You could build apartment buildings and facilities. Perfect example. There's one on 170th Street, just south of 100th Avenue. There's a big site for sale. It's a commercial site. Rezone that residential. It doesn't have to be commercial. Then there's all kinds of commercial around it that you go there. You could probably put up, 500 units there. I mean, there's lots of that around the city. There's lots of failed commercial sites that need to be rekindled. Lots of office buildings downtown that could be reinvented into single-family homes. Into apartments. You don't have to go into a community and destroy it because you think it. Because you're the one that knows that that's what they have to have. And I think it's bullshit. That they shouldn't be forced to have their neighborhood destroyed. I have a young friend of mine who bought a house. And one of those skinnies, and the skinnies are cute. Some I don't like, but most of them are all right. I couldn't get up and down the stairs all the time, but that's beside the point.
You got up the stairs to us.
Well, I was puffing. No, but 2 doors down, they've torn down a house or two, and they're building a 10-plex or 8-plex or 10-plex, and the value of his house is really destroyed. And he's so mad, and I don't blame him. He's a young fella. That's his future in his house, and now it's probably worth less money than he paid for it. That's not fair, and I think that this council thinks that they know better than everybody else. So we know and you don't. Therefore, we're going to do and to hell with you. And I think that's it's wrong. And that doesn't mean you don't densify, you don't find ways to create things. We did things that pissed people off. Absolutely. We had the surplus school sites that we developed into units, and I got chastised and yelled at and screamed at for that. But we did something to try to densify areas that weren't densified. But they were owned not by individuals; they were owned by the school boards, and we just converted those into residential. But this is making an effort to destroy communities, which is wrong.
You're probably your most famous quote. I believe it was about the Quesnel Bridge. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have to stop building crap. And people didn't hear mayors or elected representatives speak like that very often, but I think it set the tone of where you were at as a leader and what your expectations were. Do you remember making that statement?
Yeah, it was to do with everything we were building in the city. We were just building junk. It wasn't any design, any creativity. It was all a bunch of crap we were building. And so I said that. I was shocked that it had the kind of resonance that it had. It was unbelievable. I mean, it's still one of the the most significant things that I said or part of our time as mayor. And I think we made a big effort to. The city had to build buildings. So you can build a nice looking building for the same price as an ugly building. You don't have to build ugly. You can build nice. And so I think that's something we did. Plus, we put art, which people didn't like, but I didn't choose the art. I'm not an artist. I don't know much about art. We had a committee from the Arts Council. They chose the art that went there. And I used to get called, how can you put that piece of art
You're
there?
talking about Talus Dome,
yeah,
the silver balls.
Yeah, the silver balls. I don't mind them. I mean,
I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, like people look, it creates controversy. I mean, there was the shoes,
Yeah.
At Southgate. Yeah.
At Southgate Mall, the shoes with the striped socks that are about, They're about 20 feet high, I think.
Yeah, I mean, art is art, and it's in the eyes of the beholder, but not having it is the problem. And I think we've also lost sight of that. I don't see anybody talking about arts and culture in our city. And we have one of the most phenomenal live theater scenes. We have a magnificent art gallery. We have an unbelievable art scene in our country, and it's been lost too. I don't hear anything about that. The Mayor's Evening for the Arts, I don't even think goes on anymore. If it does, I wasn't invited. I mean, we've stumbled. Let's stop stumbling and start standing up straight and building the city again.
I think that this interview is going to light a fire underneath a lot of people. You see this green box right here? You know what this is? So this is called the Super Chat. So this is where Real Talkers can buy beers or green teas for our guests. And this is Super Chat Ken, who's kicked in $5. And he says, it's good to see Mr. Mandel again, and his passion for the city and the country is great to see. Were you always passionate about the city, or did your involvement in municipal politics later in your career kind of ignite something?
You know, I was, I'll tell the cute story. I was kind of semi-retired, and I was playing golf, and I'm a rotten golfer. I don't care what anybody says. You can golf I could golf every day of the week. I'd still be a rotten golfer. And I was getting aggravated and frustrated. And I was at a meeting with some people. I was helping them build a seniors facility. And they said both councillors in the West End weren't running again. I said, something to do. So I decided to run for council, and I won by a whopping 36 votes. Because
36,
36, maybe 37, but it was 36.
Wow.
And but I had the honor of working with Karen Ludovici, who was just tremendous ally in council, and we worked together for 4 years. And then I got lucky enough to run for mayor and to win. And I during that time, and that's why I think it's so important that people are in council first to understand how the system works. It's not just you walk in, oh look, I know how that works. There's all kinds of little ins and outs of how to get things done and how to work with people. And that's why I think it's so important that, at least like you mentioned, Mr. Muhammad would have been a great counselor.
He would have been an incredible counselor.
And a great personality on council.
Incredible.
Yeah, and that would have been wonderful.
I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Like this feels almost like a lunch conversation with 15,000 people going to listen to it. But I would say with Omar, like I've hesitated to be quite candid about how I feel about this because I feel like I'm going to be inevitably unfair to his campaign right now with what I say, because I'm going to essentially assume that he's not going to be the mayor of Edmonton. Hey, crazier things could happen. Sure. Maybe he comes up the middle in a vote. Yeah. Maybe he is the next mayor of Edmonton, in which case buckle up, because I think it would be wildly entertaining. It would be incredible. His videos alone are phenomenal. But he's an underdog candidate. That's a fact. But I think he would have swept to victory in almost any ward. I don't know, maybe with the exception of Aaron Paquette. There are some councillors that are maybe safer than others, but I think that Mohammed would have been absolutely phenomenal. But I asked him as much in his one-on-one with us when he joined us. And I said, did you consider a run at council instead of running for mayor? And he basically, my words, not his, but he basically said, when you want to impact change, when you want the top job, when you're the leader, you got to go for the top job. And I just thought, I don't know. I guess that's not an answer. That's not an answer that's going to be successful. But like 4 years on council. You only had 4 years
that's
on
right.
council.
One term
you
on
were
council,
elected mayor, right? Mm-hmm. You don't need to be on there. You don't need to be Brian Anderson for 30 years. May he rest in peace, right?
Wonderful.
Another
man.
great guy. I'll let people know, by the way, you mentioned Karen Leibovicz. Yeah. She's going to be joining us on the 21st of October as part of our Real Talk post-election panel. We expect that we'll be speaking to the mayors of Calgary and Edmonton, the mayors-elect, whoever they may be.
You won't be.
What's that?
You won't be. I don't think the count will be done.
You don't think the count's going to be
You
done?
got to remember, the province changed in their inimitable wisdom, which I find hard to understand. Edmonton has an electronic system for a number of years. You get your ballot, you put it in, it's counted.
Yeah.
Now the province said, no, you can't do that. What you have to do is now count every ballot by hand.
You know why they're doing this.
I don't care why they're doing it. It's ridiculous. We had a system that worked. It's costing the city $5 million more. They're worried about spending money. $5 million ain't much to them, but $5 million's a lot to the city. They had to hire, somebody said 5,000 people to do this.
Yeah.
I read somewhere. And they're going to count it by hand, but they're going to stop at midnight. You will not know, unless if it's close, if it's a landslide for somebody, yes. But you will not know until, I think, probably late on the 21st or the 22nd.
Well, I'll tell you this, the teams that we've been talking, I don't know why I'm saying this publicly, but the teams we've been talking to behind the scenes and trying to secure availability for the candidates, they've all been saying the same thing to us. But I got my fingers crossed, and I'm optimistic that we're going to have a number. I'm not going to speak any further on how I think that could go, because I don't want to influence it, but you have put your name out there. You have allowed your name to be utilized. I was going to say weaponized, but that's inherently negative. But you have endorsed Michael Walters, a former counselor. That's not why you're here. I want to be clear. But what is it about Michael Walters that earned your endorsement? It's no small thing. You could have stayed out of it. You've stayed out of it before.
Yeah. I just think Michael could build consensus, and that's what we need more than anything else in this council. Bring people together to build a city. We can't keep being this divisive, constantly fighting over issues and taking forever to make decisions and in conflict with administration. We lost probably one of the best police chiefs in the country, and we lost
McPhee?
Yeah. And we also quite a dynamic guy. I mean, I've met him a few times, know people that work with him, and also a former city manager who left unceremoniously and resigned.
Farbrother? Yeah.
Not Farbrother, no.
Most recent one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brain is.
I'll track it. I'll Google it. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Just resigned. I mean, I'm sorry, I had a brain fart.
Not Eddie Robard. You're talking about Linda Cochran?
No.
Between Cochran.
No.
Not Simon Farbrother.
No.
Jesus Christ. Andre Corbald?
Andre.
Okay.
I can't believe I can't be able to remember.
Well, I'm just running through the list.
Andre's a friend and a brilliant guy. And
he is. And Andre's military services,
Yeah.
he approached the job a little bit differently, I think, with like 30 years of military service, right? It's been interesting to see the turnover in the city manager's office. You almost wonder, I mean, respect to Eddie who's doing the job right now. You wonder kind of if anybody wants the job. If
who would want the
around,
job with this group of people?
Right.
So, So that's one of the biggest reasons Michael can build consensus. I also think Michael has a balancing view between, what business might need and what community might need. He's not right or left. He's in the center, and I'm sick and tired of right and left. I'd like to see somebody in the center who can meet the needs of everybody or try to meet the needs of most people rather than just one group or the other. So I think Michael will be a great mayor, and I hope he wins. Put my name to him, and but there's other candidates I'm supporting as well too. But
just not for mayor, you mean?
Not for mayor. And on Pai downtown, I'm going to sneak that in.
Yeah. Well,
I like him a lot. He's a great young man. I hope he wins.
I think Anand Pai is a great candidate downtown. And I believe he's in your riding. Do you live in Nakota Iska? Is that your?
No, I can't pronounce. I can't pronounce where I live.
All right.
And in my riding is a lady by the name of Thu Palmer who's running.
Oh, okay.
There's many other people. But
Palmer. Yeah. And Reed Clark is running?
Reed Clark is north. I love Reed. He's wonderful.
He's out of your riding.
Yeah, he's not in my. He's more northwest and central.
Yeah. I would say Reed Clark, if he wants it, is the future mayor of Edmonton.
I think so.
Yeah.
Harmon Condola. Don't count Harmon out in the southeast end.
Yeah.
Harmon's an amazing young man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a good friend of the show. Harmon's been on the show a lot.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He voices his opinion.
He kicked a hornet's nest when he came on here. We do these real top group chat roundtables. Yeah. And he comes on here and he goes, infill's not an election issue. And Jenny Adams, who political strategist and the crisis comms manager, she just they're very good friends, so people know. So she reacted like a very good friend would and was basically like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then they kind of get into it. And Harmon, in a move that I told him later, I said, I think that this actually represents what I want to see in politicians and in leaders. Harmon texted me later and he goes, I've been hitting the doors, and he goes, oh boy, infill is an election issue. But I said, you know what? Like when you go and you seek to understand, you knock on doors, you talk to people, and you realize that something you didn't think was an issue is an issue, and then you make it an issue or you respond in kind. That's what I want to see from a leader. Yeah. That's a good leadership quality.
Taxes are a big issue in this one too. I mean, I raise taxes too. I mean, taxes are a fact of life, but when there's tremendous amount of money we can save in the budget. I can get into that if you want. We don't have to, but there's lots of money that can save.
Well, where would you? Here's the question you asked in the debate format. Where would you cut?
I'll give you a couple of quick ones. First of all, we're spending almost $200 million a year on neighborhood renewal, and they did my neighborhood and spent probably $30 million on a bunch of things that nobody wanted, nobody asked for, and it's been almost every single neighborhood that's being done they've been complaining.
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, our sidewalks are now 15 feet wide. They're building a whole bunch of concrete in the park, which nobody asked for. They're these little bumpy things over the road. What do we need them for? They tore out roads that didn't need to be torn out. I mean, I even asked the county. I don't know where we're tearing out the roads. They're all fine, but cities said tear them out. So all kinds of money was spent, but that's not the point. The point is they're moving quickly. Our neighborhood was not horrible shape. It didn't have to be done. You could cut that program in half, and that's almost $100 million savings overnight. There's other ones. I mean, there's the construction schedule, which we have right now, is so quick. You look at all the ones I'm doing, we can probably cut that back by $25 million. We have a $38 million budget for communications and department. I'm not sure we do very good communicating. I think we could evaluate that. There's all kinds of things we could look at. I know the previous administration, Andre, brought a whole bunch of things the city council to look at, but they didn't pass anything. It would be relatively easy to sit down with an administration and a council to cut $200 million out of the budget, so we have no tax increases, or maybe a 2% tax increase per year for the next 4 years. No, it's not necessary at all to raise taxes 6.8%. It's actually unconscionable to do it, if that's the right word.
Yeah. I mean, well, you choose if it's the right word, but it is a word.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the future of provincial politics, in particular parties outside of the United Conservatives and the NDP. Of course, the former leader of the Alberta Party for a bit. You took him into an election. More than 170,000 votes your party received, which is not a joke at all, not the result you were looking for. More with former Edmonton Mayor Stephen Mandel. Does anybody shoot straighter than this guy on this show? I don't know. I'm loving this, and Real Talkers, based on what I'm seeing in the live chat, you are too. You can always send us an email, your thoughts on what you're hearing from Mr. Mandel, to talk@ryanjesperson.com.
Edmonton is here because the river is here. So we care for it, protect it, share it. The water of the North Saskatchewan sustains all of us. It's a big job to treat and deliver it, river to tap, to over 1 million people, so you can have and enjoy a glass of the Sask. On tap, made local by Epcor.
Well, we can't talk about business in Edmonton. We can't talk about Edmonton's business community. We can't talk about Edmonton's business community without talking about the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. And I wanted to let you know about an event coming up on October 16th at Ford Hall, right across the street from our studio at Rogers Place. I'm proud to be hosting the 2025 State of the Province Address with Premier Danielle Smith, presented by the Edmonton Chamber of Commerce. Alberta's future is on the line. Stephen's talking about it here in this interview. You're invited to hear about it firsthand. Again, it's October 16th as the Chamber welcomes the Premier for the 2025 State of the Province Address. Join over 1,000 business and community leaders as the Premier outlines her vision for Alberta's economic future, from energy transformation to agriculture to fiscal responsibility and global competitiveness. This will sell out. It does every year. You can get your tickets today by visiting edmontonchamber.com. If you are a business owner, if you're a business leader, an established professional that's asking yourself the big financial questions, should I pay myself in dividends or salary? Should I put savings into my TFSA or RRSP, or maybe just leave investment inside the corporation for your eventual retirement? There could be another option that your current investment advisor may not even be telling you about. At North Road Investment Council, they're helping clients answer these questions every single day. If your business is earning greater than $200,000 annually, if you're over the age of 40, an option that deserves a serious look is the individual pension plan. It's called the IPP. It's a powerful retirement strategy that can provide higher tax-deferred savings, but it's not for everybody. And that's why the team at North Road Investment Council has put together a clear, plain language white paper outlining the benefits and the challenges of an IPP so you can learn if it's right for you. You can visit their website, northroadic.com, to request your copy today. You talk about Alberta's future, Canada's energy future. Pathways Alliance is 6 of Canada's largest oil sands companies working together to help grow Canada's economy. You can learn more about the Pathways Alliance initiative by checking out its website, pathwaysalliance.ca. This is what the Prime Minister was talking about when he joined us in studio September 10th. Learn more about the economic role of the oil sands on the website. That's pathwaysalliance.ca. 445,000 plus jobs across Canada are in the oil and gas sector, obviously generating billions in tax and royalty revenue. Pathways Alliance is looking at the future of Canadian energy, meeting global demand. You can check out the website again. That's pathwaysalliance.ca. And on the flip side, Canada's renewable energy future is being built and led by the team at Solar by Kuby. Celebrating 10 years in business, they are without a doubt Western Canada's busiest solar installer. You're watching on YouTube right now. That's their installation on the Edmonton Convention Center. That whole thing is one big power generating install, beautifully done by the tidiest team in Canada. Kuby is powering communities with clean, efficient solar energy tailored to your needs. You can get a free solar quote today by visiting their website. That's kuby.ca, Kuby.ca. Make sure you check out their employment opportunities as well. Jobs always available in Calgary, Edmonton, Lethbridge, and Kamloops. Build your future with the talented and innovative team at Solar by Kubi. Stephen Mandel, our guest in studio. I've kept you longer than I asked for. I appreciate you hanging out. People are loving it. We keep an eye on how the live stream looks and whether audience joins or leaves during an interview. And it's been building while you're here, which means that word is spreading. I think people are probably texting their friends. Mandel is holding court on Real Talk. You better join the live stream.
The old guy is talking. Nobody cares.
Yeah, well, we appreciate your candor, and I do think that people care. You stepped in as the leader of the Alberta Party amid some uncertainty in what that party was going to look like. That at that time went into the 2019 election with 4 MLAs, and I know we're hoping to build on that. 4 years previously, the NDP had gone into an election with 4 and emerged with 54 in government. Instead, the result was not what you were looking for, but still 170,000 votes. It was kind of weird to look at, right? Like a decent number of votes. Jason Kenney's UCP secured just over 1 million. So let's say you guys had 17% of what they took, which is not a joke. But the Alberta Party since has somewhat died on the vine. Why do you think that is?
One thing I've learned about politics, it has nothing to do with philosophy. It has everything to do with money. You have to be able to raise money to get your message out to people. In this municipal election, if you look at different groups of people supporting different groups trying to get their message out, you have to pay. You have to pay to get on your show, et cetera. And so that's one of the things that happened. We lost because we didn't gain any seats in 2019. We lost momentum. We lost financial capacity. But I think it's a growing need in this province and a growing demand in this province for some kind of middle-of-the-road government. And I think that, a couple of the MLAs that have left the UCP government who are sitting at independence, I don't know if they've crossed the floor to what might be a renamed Alberta Party into a PC Party of Alberta. I know the application's been made. That will make a tremendous difference. I was in a meeting and with a bunch of people, and they're saying, well, when people go to the door and talk about the Alberta Party, are you the separatist party? Are you this party, that party? The Alberta Party didn't define who they were. I thought we did, but we didn't apparently. And so I think if you say progressive conservative party, I think it'll bring back some great memories of all the positive things that happened in this province, and hopefully that'll instill a movement of a new part of the party and see maybe other people elected to the legislature that are not far left, far right. Somebody in the middle.
Can you see a world where a political, just with the state of politics today, can you see a world where another political party could form and thrive in Alberta right now? I mean, a lot of the talk, I want to say consensus, but it almost feels like consensus. People just kind of go, Alberta's a 2-party state.
Yeah, well, that's what you say. I don't think so.
Well, I don't know if I say that. I'm asking
you. I'm only
you.
kidding.
Yeah.
I think, yes, there is. I talked to tons of people, and individuals are tired of the left and the right, saying, I'm tired of everything being right and left and about political parties, and they're always arguing with one another. How do we build some consensus? How do we move the city forward? And a party of the center with I think a vision for Alberta that that does take in political conservatism and financial conservatism, but looks at how do we build schools, how do we build a province, how do we build an education system, how do we build a healthcare system that's going to serve our province, and how do we do that, and what do we don't do in order to do that right now, and even agriculture. Christ, I see this province has got such agricultural potential, and yet we just grow crops. Why aren't we value adding? Why aren't we creating all kinds of opportunities for farmers? They are just such a tremendous opportunity. It infuriates me that we don't do enough.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you put billions of dollars into that? We have an opportunity to feed the world. And what we do, we fight with China whether they're going to take our crops or not. I mean, let's get a future. Let's build a tomorrow. And you're not going to build that where you're arguing about left and right. Well, you can't do that because of. You can't do that because of. You got to support separation. No, you got to support, not doing this or that. So it's bullshit. Let's build a province of tomorrow. And so our kids want to stay here, and we have an incredible healthcare system. We don't have hospitals falling apart like Royal Alex, University of Alberta Hospital, and Grey Nuns, etc. We need to invest. Misericordia.
It's probably the biggest mess in the Metro Edmonton
I don't
region.
think it's as big as mess as people say it was.
No?
No. Anyway, I looked at it. It wasn't as big a mess. A lot of there was some different floods. What happened?
Yeah.
Well, somebody cut a line on the renovations that would cause one of the floods. Okay. So I mean, it was people liked exaggerating.
Well, thank you for fact checking me.
Yeah. Yeah. I was there, so I know. I was in the room when they showed me this is what happened.
Yeah.
So
we get the first-hand report. This is why we need to have expert guests.
Oh
on
yeah,
the show.
I'm an expert. I'm actually ding dong. So
I got to ask you about municipal political parties in the municipal election.
Oh
This
shit,
is the first
can't
time we've
stand
seen it.
I think it's a joke. The great thing about municipal government when I first got involved is the independence. You come, you get elected. You bring your prejudice, you bring your ideology too, but you bring it to the table. Everybody finds a common ground. We're going to build a neighborhood. Okay, that's not left or right. We're going to fix roads. That's not left or right. And I think that this idea of the parties, it also with UCP did it, I think, because in defense of the NDP were too much involved in municipal government, municipal policy. They were pushing candidates. Even today, one of the candidates, I don't want to mention his name, has got big support from all the labor unions from the city. I mean,
what do you mean? Why do you want to mention his name? You've said everything else.
Andrew Knack. I mean, he's getting big support from all the labor unions, and I just think we need to have. And someone will say, "Well, the business is supporting Michael and other Michael and Tim." Well, but they're individually supporting him. They're not collectively. They're not telling 45,000 members or 50,000 members to send checks in. So I think that's lost sight of what's important, which is building consensus, finding common ground, and building a city rather than building an ideology. And I really think that if we have two left-leaning counts are going to fight like hell with the province, and we're going to be in worse shape.
I want to ask you one question that may hit close to home. Obviously, it's a significant anniversary today, the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th attacks on Israel. What has unfolded since has been nothing short of tragic. As the world watches, I think, in horror. The President of the United States, among those that's trying to find some way to bring a ceasefire and end the fighting. Where's your head at as a person of Jewish heritage? On the 2-year anniversary of the October 7th attacks?
Well, first of all, you think back to the horrific event and the slaughter of children and seniors and individuals who were just having a dance in their homes. But then you go 2 years forward and you see the destruction that's happened and the deaths. And I don't understand why so many people have to die. Wars they're of no sense. They don't help anybody. We need to get back to finding solutions to problems. And kind of mixed feelings about President Trump, but at least he's the only one that's trying to bring peace to the area, and maybe he will. People have to understand Israel's going to be there, and it's not going anywhere, and have the respect to allow that to be there and help rebuild Gaza with a group of people that don't want to destroy the state of Israel. And I only wish the death and destruction would stop on both sides. It's not a good thing at all.
Thanks for taking the question, and thank you for this interview. I have professed my admiration to you in person many times, and I have done so on this show as well. I've always loved the way that you operate, and I appreciate to a great degree your passion for the city. It's very obvious. You literally bounce in your chair when you talk about it. Yeah. I am disappointed that you didn't run for council again. I think partially just because I couldn't imagine how effective it would be to have a former mayor and someone as opinionated as you, someone that operates with as much conviction as you, that also has a great deal of success in private business, overseeing the activities of whoever the new mayor would have been. Alas, we will continue to keep the door open here on Real Talk, and you can infuse accountability in a different context. How does that sound?
That sounds fair, and thank you for having me. I much appreciate it, and I might go to Freeze's and buy one of those packages of turkey, because my wife says she doesn't want to make turkey because we're going away on holidays. So
the Thanksgiving dinner box. Yeah. I'm not fucking around, man. It's
a good looking deal.
No, it's $80. $79.
I mean, geez, you can't even buy a turkey for half.
That's what I'm saying to people.
So
I don't
I'm actually
understand
going to go
why.
over and take a look at it.
Do it. Well, you let them know that I sent you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to. Yeah.
Much respect, Mayor.
Good, thank you.
It's so good to see you.
Thank you.
Stay here. Former Edmonton Mayor Stephen Mandel joining us. You're going to love this, by the way. This is not me trolling you. This is just where it stacks up on our ad reads. But we're going to wrap with this. Civic Service Union 52 representing. You can't write this stuff, man. You can't write it. What do you want me to do? Civic Service Union 52 is representing over 7,000 frontline and professional workers across Edmonton and parts of Alberta. They represent members from the City of Edmonton, EPCOR, Capital Power, Edmonton Public Library, the TELUS World of Science, and the Valley View Municipal Library. They're building in Edmonton for everyone, and you can check out their website, edmontonforeveryone.ca. We're talking about workers in core city services like 911, 311 operators, city planners, IT specialists, library staff, recreation leaders, support staff, technical staff at the Edmonton Police Service. They keep the city running behind the scenes and on the front lines. These are the people who build, maintain, and serve Edmonton every single day. And this election, they're calling on you to support the values that would lead to a healthy Edmonton, a safe city, a smart city, a welcoming city, and a fair city. You can learn more about what they're doing. That's CSU 52 members by visiting edmontonforeveryone.ca. Our thanks to Jyoti Gondek, incumbent seeking re-election down in Calgary. Our thanks to former Edmonton Mayor Stephen Mandel. And our thanks to those of you Real Talkers that are leaving literally hundreds and hundreds of comments about how the teacher strike is impacting you on our posts on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, wherever you're finding us. That conversation will continue tomorrow. That's Wednesday, the 8th of October, with Alberta's Education Minister, Dimitrios Nikolaitis. And a reminder, the Real Talk Calgary mayoral debate goes this Friday, the 10th of October. We hope you'll join us then. Be well.
Real Talk is hosted by Ryan Jesperson, executive producer Josh Dunford, technical producer John Hicks, general manager Katie Cook-Chivers, account coordinator Lawrence Derlego, human resources Lena Shepard, website design Mike Johnston, voiceover by me, Carrie Skelton, member emerita Julie Rohr. Real Talk is recorded in Edmonton, Alberta on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral territory of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, and Nakota Sioux, home to the Métis settlements and the Métis Nation of Alberta. Real Talk is a relay project. For more, check out ryanjesperson.com.